want to talk about the end of the summer travel season and the state of the airlines, and we're going to do that with Peter Greenberg. He is CBS News travel editor. It's good to have you here, Peter. And we actually had on the Airlines for America lobby group, the trade group CEO yesterday, talking about what's happened to the airlines. Amazing that they're still 70% off year over year when it comes to passenger volume. What can you add to this? Because I think we're all freaked out about what the future they face.
And they're freaked out too. The real problem is going to be September 30th. And that's the day that the Federal CARES Act provisions expire. What that means is they were requiring the airlines to fly all their routes in the domestic system and to keep everybody on payroll. That's what that money was going for. They were essentially paying the airlines to fly a lot of empty planes. And we're coming into the fourth quarter. And if you think travel was down for the first 3 quarters this year, get ready for the fourth. It's even worse. So that's why the airlines basically gave notifications to so many of their employees over 2 months ago, they were about to be furloughed. So last week, American Airlines announced 19,000 people leaving. Earlier this week, United Airlines, more than 16,000 people, of which about 2,800 pilots. And that's just the beginning. And the United notification went to 36,000 of their employees. That's more than a third of their workforce. So they're lobbying. If you guys had the lobbyists on yesterday, believe me, they are lobbying Congress right now and the president to extend the CARES Act and refund it to get them all the way through to March. Because if you look historically, almost every single airline bankruptcy pre-pandemic happened in the fourth or the first quarters when the airlines in trouble just couldn't make it to the second quarter.
Peter, since people aren't flying, are they still even traveling domestically via car? And are we seeing more people vacation closer to home? And is that going to help the local economies that work with the travel and tourism industry?
Well, to a certain extent, it will. More and more Americans are hitting the road. They're taking 100 to 300-mile one-tank trips. RV sales are still strong. RV rentals are very strong because families can basically put everybody in the vehicle. It's their self-contained quarantine mobile. They're not stopping for restaurants or for hotels. They're just stopping for food and gas. So yes, that's happening. But remember, we're coming into the fall where people are going back into school. So we'll see a lot more weekend trips coming up.
Peter, Gary Kelly over at Southwest Airlines in his weekly, Ask Gary segment that he shares with his employees said, we need the CARES Act extension. And they've promised no layoffs through the end of the year, but they still want the extension. But the other issue he talks about and the other CEOs talk about is the loss of business travel. And even if they get the CARES Act extension, business travel isn't expected to come back to 2019 levels for another 4 years. How does an airline make it even with the CARES Act extension?
Well, a funny thing happened last Sunday. United Airlines dropped a little bit of a bombshell and said they were permanently, I'll put that word in quotes, getting rid of those draconian $200 ticket change fees. And then within 24 hours, American and Delta followed suit. Now, that sounds like it's very consumer friendly, and hopefully it will be. But the real reason behind it is they had to acknowledge business travel was dead, and they're pinning all their hopes on leisure travel. And leisure travelers are not going to fly in this environment, which is so uncertain with closings and borders and health restrictions and protocols, if they're still going to be stuck with a $200 ticket change fee if they have to change their flight. That's the reason why they got rid of that. And they're hoping that what's going to save them is a sort of slow growth of leisure travel. But here's the real problem. We're getting to the point now where we're going to define a successful airline by which can lose money longer. It's as simple as that.
Hey, Peter, Rick Newman here. I laughed when I heard the United CEO say they're eliminating change fees forever. That word forever, come on. But at any rate, I flew in August. It's nice. This has been good for consumers, some of these changes. The middle seat is open. Do you think these things will really last? Let's say we're on the other side, we have a COVID vaccine. What's to stop the airlines from just going back to everything they used to do, all the fees and everything else?
Absolutely nothing. That's why I laughed too when they said permanently. You know what? I'll make you a bet. When this all gets turned around, they'll just call it something else. And the reason for that is it was one of the largest revenue generators they've ever had with very little labor. Every year, United Airlines was taking in $600 million just on ancillary fees. Over 10 years, that's $6 billion, and that's just one airline. And so I fully expect they're going to try to recoup that revenue when they can. But bottom line is, we are living in a world of ancillary fees. They make more money normally from the ancillary fees than they make from operating the airline.
On the other hand, Southwest never had change fees, but we got to say thank you very much. Peter Greenberg is the travel editor at CBS News. Always good to see you.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.